welcome to Within and Beyond. I am your host, Lorraine Appleyard, and I have today with me the Reverend Lorna J. Hines. Now, I have known Lorna for a number of years now, and it's a great pleasure to be able to speak with Lorna today. Lorna is multi-talented, gifted, and a certified medium and a trance healer and intuitive counselor. She is a wonderful, inspirational speaker, a teacher, and a poet. And Lorna was initially guided into the behavioral health industry to provide compassionate care to those with unseen hurts and pain. And after more than 48 years as a psychotherapist, researcher, trainer, and administrator, professor, and CEO, she's multi-talented indeed. Lorna was guided by spirit and her guides to expand her natural abilities in mediumship, healing, and inspirational speaking. Lorna has sought instruction and guidance from world-renowned mediums and has grown extensively. In May of this year, Lorna debuted her much-anticipated book, Straight Talk from a Wise Woman, Tears, Trauma, and a Healing Path. It's a body of work that serves not only as a testimony, but as transformation. And is more than a memoir or a manual. This book is an offering to those who are finally ready to meet the unseen hurts that have lived unspoken in their lives. Lorna has demonstrated both nationally and internationally on the radio, in churches and centers, and she provides both individual and group readings. Lorna has taught mediumship, trance, inspirational speaking, and has led development groups. She studied and has been credentialed by the Spiritualist Nationalist Union, attaining a CSNUI in speaking and demonstrating. She's a provider with helping parents heal and has been certified by Find a Certified Medium. Her poetry, blogs, and short stories contain an intense healing element that has been appreciated by thousands. In her spare time, I don't know where she gets it, but Lorna supports an orphanage in northern Ghana where disabled children receive care, love, attention, and access to education. Most of these children avoided being killed due to their perceived and actual disabilities. Lorna has named these children spirit children. You can find Lorna on YouTube and her website, but it gives me great pleasure to be able to speak with Lorna today. Thank you so much for joining me, Lorna. I mean, your list of experience is just tremendous. I would love to get down to it and talk further to you about all of your experience working with spirit. Tell me a little bit about how your mediumship journey working with spirit evolved.
Well, first of all, Lorraine, I absolutely am thrilled that you invited me to participate in your podcast. And if you don't mind me mentioning to your audience that you have been a supporter of mine throughout my mediumship journey, whether it was a note or whether it was an invitation early in my work in trance, to provide a trance demonstration. And I can remember that as if it occurred yesterday, with one of the clients, where she experienced a very helpful and healing experience with me. So let me just begin by saying I offer my love and gratitude to you, not only for your wonderful work of many, many years, your healing work and mediumship and so forth and teaching, but for what you have done to inspire and support me. And I'm certain that I'm not the only one. But in terms of the development of my mediumship, I would just share with you and your audience that I think very much like many people, I consider myself a natural medium that developed over time. I come from a family where both religion and spirituality were folded into one type of experience. So it was very natural to me to talk about spirit. It was very natural to me. My mother was an astrologer and very much involved in it. So the work of working with spirit and understanding spirit was something already imbued in me. But oftentimes is what happens, as you've indicated. I was very, very much involved in the behavioral health industry and private practice in psychotherapy, but keeping in mind that psychotherapy is a healing modality as well. And it offered me the opportunity to use a number of my intuitive feelings about situations and people. But I would say somewhere around 2007, I began to feel there was something missing in my life and my work. Initially, I had a feeling that I wanted to touch people in healing, and I did that. I did that for a while, but in a church, and then I just began to search for what it was that was missing, kind of the missing link. And I joined a development group with a woman by the name of Carrie O'Connor. I studied numerology. I also do consider myself a numerologist, but kind of the what would you call it? The major step, even though these other things were very important, but the major step is I went to a class with James Van Praagh in 2020 nice. At Omega Institute in Rhinebeck, New York. Excuse me. And I was looking forward to the class. I had read his book, but I was delayed in getting there. Unfortunately, the traffic on the highway was backed up, and it took me several hours to get there when it should have only taken me 2. When I arrived, the class had already started Friday night. It was dark, and I tried to be very quiet, just, joining it, finding a seat, and not making too much of a fuss because I was embarrassed. Well, for whatever reason, Mr. Van Praagh, as I walked in and sat down, he jumped off of the stage. He came directly to me. I'll never forget it. And he said, and he pointed his finger at me, you have something special, and you will be transformed this weekend.
Wow.
And that's just how it the next day, I don't know why I didn't run out but I didn't. I came back the next day, and he led us into a meditation. And as he led us into this meditation, just as I'm speaking, just as a breath, the mediumship came like that with my partner. She asked me to go first. I didn't know any better to say, well, you should go first. And her husband came through just again as a breath, as just experiencing the breath of life, right? The breath of life. And the rest is history. James mentored me wonderfully. He introduced me to the world-renowned mediums that you mentioned, Mavis Patilla, Colin Bates, Tony Stockwell, all of them, John Holland, and of course, Janet Nohavik, who ordained me in 2022. So what I'm trying to put forth is the roots and the seeds for being a medium and a healer was always within me. But first the intuitive, and then the mediumship is what was missing, the mediumship and the trance.
Well, I love that you really unfolded it so well, because what I found, Lorna, in my journey is that a lot of individuals that, I think truly everyone that I have met in my mediumship journey has been always intuitive. They have always sort of had this compassion and this guidance, or this drive for healing and helping others. And I feel that how you have really described that, someone that may be starting out in their mediumship journey, that feeling that something is missing, that's what prompted you to really explore that. There was that inner voice that was speaking to you, that there was something missing. And I really do feel that, I mean, your story is absolutely wild, that James Ryan Prague just spotted you, but you do have a presence. Absolutely.
Thank you.
But absolutely you do. It's a very powerful presence, and I feel it now just coming over Zoom. But what really strikes me is that I am sure that there are going to be some individuals that are listening that are on the beginning of their spiritual journey or beginning of their mediumship, and they recognize that inner calling. They will recognize that, hey, I've always felt drawn to help others. And even working for yourself, working as a psychotherapist, I know that as a nurse, because you're speaking about this, that you were talking about the intuition, how you felt guided in some ways to speak certain words or to lay your hands on people. And I know that I have felt absolutely very much the same way, but you've just articulated it in a beautiful manner. And I am sure that there are going to be others out there that are just going to just be like, wow, I really feel that this speaks to me. And so you mentioned about natural mediumship. Tell me, how would you describe that or define that? And so do you feel that mediumship is a natural faculty?
Yes, I do. Although I think for whatever reason, there are people that are not inclined to utilize it. What you hear is a bit of ambivalence, because I think intuitiveness is definitely a natural faculty, but I'm a little ambivalent about the mediumship, only because I know children have it. If you notice, children have it, and I've seen it with my own children, and also now with my grandchildren. But I also have had the experience that something happens with children in the course of their development. Now, something must have happened to me as well, because I would imagine I demonstrated signs of mediumistic and intuitive tendencies as a youngster. I do know I used to talk to someone in the mirror. I remember that.
Wow.
Yeah, I remember that often, very often, and I also, as Mavis Patilla often talks about, I did not feel alone when I was by myself. I often spent quite a bit of time by myself growing up, and I didn't necessarily feel alone or lonely. So I think when I use the term natural medium, what I'm trying to put forth is that I really believe with me that the seeds were there from probably birth that needed to be birthed, that needed to be unfolded. And we know so much more now. I don't know if you're familiar with Ellen Edmondson. She's on Facebook, and she has a group called Highly Intuitive Children. And she tries to help people understand the needs of their children that are showing intuitive types of abilities and tendencies. And I think if I had those types of that type of environment, even more so than what I had, I would have gotten into my healing journey, my larger healing journey, because I've been a healer all my life. But I would have gotten into my larger healing journey much earlier in my life. But you see, I'm not going to go woulda, coulda, shoulda, because I do believe in divine timing. And everything happened in divine timing. So if you look at the 2010, when I met James Van Praagh, then I met all the different tutors that I needed to meet in order for instruction. And I do believe in training. I do believe in reading. I do believe in, because oftentimes mediums, budding mediums will have a wonderful experience of doing mediumship, and then they immediately think they can open up their practice. And I think in many circumstances, they're doing a disservice to our work, because I do think it needs to be, this is why the teachers and tutors are so important, because it needs to be almost like a statue. You know, you start out with a lump of clay, and it needs to be molded, and it needs to be worked with. So it's something very beautiful. So I would say to your audience, you may have all these natural tendencies, and I'm sure that you do. But in order to provide the sacredness of what it is we do, that we must keep in mind that training, understanding the ethics of our profession, doing all the things that one would normally do if you were pursuing a PhD or a master's degree or whatever. I think we give a disservice to what we do when we think, oh, I can just wake up tomorrow and be ongoing professional medium. I hope I answered your question.
You did. And you know what? You really brought forward a point that I feel is very important. And that aspect of how the training is important, and why it's important, and how someone that without training can actually do a disservice. And because I do agree with you. Let's just sort of focus on that a little bit more. Because I feel, or I've come to understand or believe, that you're talking about these natural abilities, but it's that unfoldment, it's that understanding, and it's something that I've come to sort of, I guess, recognize or learn just recently is that the faculty of the soul, I believe that these are abilities that we've carried over from lifetimes. That's my belief, right? It's a faculty of the soul that has grown, but then we must awaken it fully in this present lifetime. We must have that full remembering, and then it is a training. It is understanding how to be able to be of service in this present lifetime, to be able to use those gifts, and I believe that really what it is. So it's learning how to not have the ego step in, and learning all of just the very subtle ways that spirit works with us. It's that it becomes a sort of a maturation, like maturing of oneself. And so you brought forward something very important, and I thank you. And the wisdom that you share it with is really is very profound. It's great. Because you've been able to articulate that in a way that I really feel an individual might understand and recognize. Because there is a natural tendency, I feel, for someone to just say, I can do this, putting up my shingle on the window there, the door. But you've been working on this your entire life.
Yes.
And in a professional manner too. So like with your psychotherapy, you've learned how to be able to have that relationship with the individual before you. Because I think that's very important, how to be able to meet the needs of the individual before you, to be able to meet them where they're at, so that you can be observed. And that takes practice. That takes learning, right?
Yes. And I think also that background helped me to approach my mediumship and my spiritual practice in an ethical and moral way, because the transferring of the way I believe I should practice ethically and morally as a psychotherapist, it transferred the same to my spiritual practice. And I think that's another very important part of the work and the movement of our work, and understanding the ethical parts, the code of conduct that we must adhere to. And again, some of the students that rush into going from one or two workshops, or even a mentorship, and I'm sounding judgmental, and I don't want to sound that way, but at the same time I want to emphasize that I absolutely unequivocally believe that, like a good stew, our spiritual work needs to have all the great ingredients, but it also must simmer. It must simmer. It must take time to really, and you see, it takes time to find the right teacher. Now, Spirit worked with me, in putting the right people in my path that I work with. Were there some teachers that it just wasn't a good fit? Yes. Absolutely. But you see, I think it's important that we have a relationship with whomever or whatever we feel is our higher power. I'm not going to use the word God or spirit. For me, that is my higher power. But I had a wonderful teacher, Helen DeVita, that I studied mediumship with, and she said, Lorna, my higher power is in nature. And I respect that. But I do believe we need to have some sense of a higher power in our lives that we can turn to, that we can align with, to help us in this journey with our spiritual practice.
Yeah, again, Lorna, you've articulated that just brilliantly with such wisdom. A higher power, I understand, it is absolutely imperative on a spiritual journey. What you brought forward, not wanting to name it, because I think people really struggle with that idea of naming what that higher power is and the concept of God or creator, and labels can be misleading. And so you've really described that beautifully. But I agree that importance of having that relationship with a higher power, that is very, very significant. How would you, if someone was searching for this higher power, this elusive higher power, if someone wanted to develop a relationship with it, or even just sort of find it, how might you offer some guidance around that?
No. Well, I won't. I must be transparent with you, Lorraine, and I have not actually had the experience of working with a person that was searching for their higher power. But if I did, what I would suggest to them is to designate a time during their day that they are in a space, or that they can create, excuse me. I'm so sorry.
It's all right.
That they can create a space of quiet, both within themselves and outside of themselves. Now, that sounds like a easy feat, but if you have children and families and so forth, as we do, that's not always an easy feat. But we must try. You know, maybe after the children have gone to bed and our partner and I, agree upon that this is going to be my sacred time. But I would suggest that they designate a particular time during the day where this is their time to go inward. Now, I'm also somewhat of a person that believes in ritual. Now, I don't want to give the impression that, da 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 type of, whammy type of stuff. But I do think, for example, lighting of a candle can be helpful in a ritual way, igniting the energy within ourselves, and also doing it in terms of a ritual. And now I'm going to go a little out there as well, and that as we ignite that light within ourselves, that are we also igniting that light with our higher power? And we can say it, can't we? We can say to a higher power, whatever you are, or whomever you are, or even if you're not a whomever or whatever, I am lighting this light, igniting this light to invite you to come close. I'm inviting you to come within me and help me to understand your presence. Help me to understand what it is I need to know so that I can align myself with you and your energies, because this is my desire. And I would talk. I would absolutely express. Even if I don't necessarily say it, I'm going to think it, because of course our higher power understands our thoughts. And as I would be inclined during this special time with me, and it doesn't have to be hours and hours, a good 20 minutes to a half an hour, as long as it's structured. and that we are going to devote, just like exercise, that we're going to devote a specific time and place to this. And you'll be surprised. I would absolutely bet my bottom dollar that the person that does this, they will have an opportunity to align and understand who and what this higher power is for them.
And again, it's beautiful listening to the way that you talk, Lorna. How you've described that, it sounds a lot like how we would talk about sitting in the powers as a medium. Yes. Right? And really, that's what it is. I too believe in what you call a ritual. I believe that when we light a candle, we're cueing to our subconscious something. We're anchoring it into our subconscious. It becomes a cue that we are asking spirit to draw closer. It becomes it speaks to our soul when we're doing this, and it becomes that sort of cue that, okay, now we're moving away just from that material world and we're drawing closer to spirit. And for me, and it's interesting because when we talk about ritual, I know that people can start to think like woo woo and something, but really, if you go to a church, they have candles lit, they have incense. It's all ritual, all serves a purpose, and it does start to bring a sense of reverence to what you're doing.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
It becomes that cue that there's something going on beyond just this physical world. But I like the way that you described that and how you start to invite spirit to come closer to. And absolutely, it's very important, just what you just described, that spirit knows your thoughts. They know what's in your heart. And I feel that sometimes the average person may not recognize it because they're like, I don't know how to pray, or and it's like spirit already knows your thoughts, and that's a beautiful thing to learn, to become aware of.
Absolutely, and I often tell people, many of us are raised in organized religion, as I have, and we're used to hearing the thous and thou arts and all, but that's not necessary. Those words are not necessary. We can also look at prayer as a conversation with ourselves and our higher power, and we can say words, and this is one of the things that I've seen in a number of spiritualist churches, where people, in the course of prayer, though it's just as sacred as we might hear in organized religion, but they speak in a very, for lack of a better term, ordinary, very upfront way, because they are speaking, as you said, from their heart. They're speaking from deep within their soul, and expressing to whomever they feel is their higher power. And in spiritualist churches, we do use spirit and God, and they are speaking in a very beautiful, authentic, energetic way. And I think that's the power of prayer. I think prayer is a very individualized, a very specific way that people can have this conversation, have this relationship with the Mother, Father, God that many spiritualists believe in. And I use those terms, Mother, Father. The church that I was ordained at, that we use both of those, Mother, Father, God, brotherhood and sisterhood, because we want to recognize the the enormous and infinite possibilities of this spirit that we are aligned with. That there is male energy, female energy. It's all sorts of different energies that are available to us if we are in need of those energies.
And that starts to open it up for someone that may be struggling with those labels. And so that is very helpful because people do get stuck on the word God, right? Because we may have this idea of God on a throne up in the clouds, back from our childhood, back from early religious teaching. And so we struggle with that concept. And so you've really allowed that to open up and to make it more accessible for someone that may be seeking to understand. So, and you're right, it's the energy, that source is much greater than we can really fully appreciate, right, from our human limited minds.
You're absolutely right. And keep in mind, and believe me, I didn't come here to preach, and I hope I'm not sounding so dogmatic. But what I would say in my own experience, as I began to study mediumship and develop that particular spiritual practice, what happened over those years is my relationship with spirit became closer and closer and closer and closer, to the point, and this is rather remarkable if you could think about it. We know there are billions of humans in the earth realm, billions. But what happened is that instead of feeling like I was one of the billions, I began to feel like I was, yes, one of the billions, but the opportunity existed, despite there being so many, the opportunity existed that I could have a one-on-one relationship with this Mother, Father, God. Now that's incredible.
I mean, that is incredible. You're absolutely right. The idea that having that personal relationship, even though there's billions of people on earth, but the idea of having that relationship to be an individual relationship, that's very special. And I feel that when we I understand completely what you mean, but again, you've articulated that beautifully, so thank you. But that changes the way that you feel inside when you realize that I can have a personal relationship, that I'm not just one in billions, that there's a personal relationship there. And I feel, I'm going to go out on a limb further. I feel that that's what many people are experiencing when that lack of, when they have this hunger for something. They have this hunger, they have this feeling of something's missing in my life, but I feel that what is missing in many people's lives is that personal relationship that their soul is hungering for.
Yes.
So
yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Lorna, for articulating that in a way that is so easily understood. Your wisdom just really came through with that. And that's a beautiful thing, because when someone recognizes that they can have a personal relationship with God, and through that relationship, that can transform your life. That's so empowering. That's beautiful. Thank you.
I agree with you. I agree with you wholeheartedly. And, to just even take it a step further, if we can not only have that personal relationship that you are talking about as well, but the energy of God resides within us as well. You see, the energy of God, the energy of spirit resides with us. And so that also makes us, or it gives us the opportunity for us to understand and make us God-like.
And I just got a chill down my spine, Lorna, because and it really brings forward something that I wanted to mention about you. But listen, absolutely, it allows us the opportunity, because we have that spark of the divine within, to be God-like. We are made in the likeness of. And you, my friend, just embody this God-like, this divinity. And I know, and this is the thing, that when we allow ourselves to become God-like, that's what changes not only our own life, but the lives around us, because then we are allowing ourselves to be that instrument of God. We're becoming God, and we're allowing that energy, that love, that light to permeate out in the world. And I know that that is what you do, because when you speak or when you write, even something small, I read your posts, Lauren, I read what you share, and it's like, my goodness, the smallest of statements from Lorna Hines is anointed.
Oh, thank you.
Feel the presence, the anointing of God come through you. And I know that it's from that you've cultivated that relationship, and it comes through you. But what that allows others to be able to, what you've just stated, is that it's, yes, that's your unique relationship that you have with God, but you too can cultivate that unique relationship and become God-like. And isn't that what we really want to be able to have more in this world? I feel that that's the promise that has been made to us, the eternal promise.
I think the opportunity exists. Now, the spiritualists, some spiritualists, believe that the possibility exists for our own eternal progress, our own spiritual eternal progress. And I think it is really up to us whether or not we want to pursue that progress. Now, just to give a quick example, when we do something that is spiritually helpful, I've been reading some posts also of people that say, well, they will pay for the person behind them on a line who appears like maybe they're ordering a tea, but they really would like to have, and we have intuitive feelings about this. I mean, I've been in a supermarket and I've seen mothers with children, and I know they are maybe buying one thing of milk, but they need so much more because they don't have the money. And oftentimes in those situations, I will just roll up some money in my hand and I will take their hand and I will say, oh, will you take this? I'm honored to give it to you. And will you take this and maybe buy something special for your child? Just like that. So you see, now look, I'm not looking for points with God. I'm not. But when I feel something within myself that I should do to help another person, and maybe I don't know the person, I've never seen them in my life, but there is a sense I have that there's something that they need that I can give. I just do it. And I often pray to God and to Spirit that I want to serve you by serving my brothers and sisters. Because I believe that's in one of the ways that God wants us to be to one another.
I mean, it's been written to love one another as you would want to be treated, that we are all brothers and sisters in this world.
Yes.
Yes. And I feel that is just, again, the way that you've described it, that's a beautiful thing. And you're not looking for points with God or anyone else, but you're doing that because you're feeling moved to do that. And there's a part of you that you know that it is needed. Although no act certainly goes unseen, of course. But it's what you've just described is a wonderful thing. And the truth is that when we bless others, that the blessings flow in our lives, because yes. I know that money is hard to come by nowadays, but it's to know that is just energy. And when we use it, it's going to flow to us also. So thank you, Lorna, for sharing that story. It's really helps to bring forward just that relationship that you were talking about, and how we all have the opportunity to be like God, to be of service, and to take those moments each day just to ask God, please work through me.
Yes, yes, yes.
Lorna, if someone was looking for any particular words of wisdom right now, and I know that you are beautiful with your inspiration, what inspiration may you, further inspiration, because the whole conversation, I feel, has been inspiring, but what might you leave for someone at this time?
Just to give you some background, and thank you for mentioning my book, Straight Talk from a Wise Woman, Tears, Trauma, and a Healing Path. And what I've done is I'm using that book as a vehicle, as a way for me to articulate a lot of the things that we've talked about with one another today. However, I decided, with the help of a supporter, to take a few sentences from the book and share them on Instagram and also Facebook, so that people who maybe don't want to buy it or whatever, but maybe they could still benefit from a few of the themes that I'm trying to put forward. And today, and we always know God's in charge, and today, a woman that I don't know, that I've never seen before, never talked before, she must have seen one of the reels, and she wrote a response, and this is just this morning. Will I ever be healed? Will I ever be healed? And so I wrote back to her, I don't necessarily know you. I don't know your definition of healing. I don't know what you've done to initiate and help towards your healing. But I do know within my heart, within my mind, within my spirit, that healing is absolutely possible for people. And there are many people perhaps that are listening. I hope there are people that are listening that have this understanding within themselves that healing of traumas, of grief, of things that are essential and intense challenges in our lives is possible. But the first step for many is making the invisible visible. So if I have any wisdom to share, I'm even humbled by even in your words that I do have some wisdom. I would say for those that may be hurting out there, or maybe don't even realize that they are hurting, but that there's something that's not quite right within their lives and within their mind, body, and spirit, that healing is possible. And that even more importantly, the higher power that I know, the higher power of my own understanding, does not want us to suffer. That there is no wonderment or positiveness in suffering. Now that's a lot. That's a lot right there for people to ascribe to. But I think it's related to the healing. And so if the God that we know does not want us to suffer, then healing is absolutely possible.
Wise words and straight talk. I love it, Lorna. I mean, you can't get any straighter talk than that. And I do agree that healing is possible, and that going back to further what you said about that eternal growth, that is available to us, how that is open to each and every one of us. So, Lorna, I just want to say thank you for being you. Thank you for being that wise woman, straight talk. Thank you for everything that you do for helping others, for being of service. Could I just have you tell us, if someone wants to find you, where can they find you? How could someone get in contact with you?
Yes. People can find me via my website, which is pretty simple, www.lornajhines.com. I'm also on Facebook, Lorna J. Hines. If you type that in, my Facebook page should come up. And I'm also on Instagram. The Instagram, if you type in Lorna J. Hines, it will come up. But my pen name is Inner Depths. Inner Depths, DEPTHS. I try to get back to people that I hear from. If you need to contact me more than once, please don't worry about that. It's just sometimes the emails and communications get lost. But I love to talk to new people, and I love to help if I can.
Yeah, that comes across very clearly, Lorna. Thank you for that you love to help. I'd like to say thank you very much for this opportunity of spending time with me and chatting. It's been a great pleasure, and I look forward to speaking with you again sometime soon, Lorna. Thank you very much for spending time with us today. And thank you for watching us, for staying tuned to us, and please do tune in again for the next episode on Within and Beyond. Bye for now.